Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of Fly the Line. This is your host, as always, Dylan Gore, and welcome back. I have just come back from vacation. I'm very sorry to keep you all waiting for episode 3 this long, but I've just gone on vacation to China, and this is the first time I've had since I've come back to sit down and record an episode. So sorry, you guys, but episode 3 is finally here. Now, the focus of today's episode, I think, is going to go back onto one of the promises that I made in episode 1 about what this podcast is really about. And it just so happens that one of my interests in my own time is poetry. I absolutely love poetry, as I probably said in episode 1. I absolutely love poetry. It's a very graceful form of expression, and to me, it represents the highest level or the highest articulation of language and art that is conveyed with, words, that to me. So here, let's start off with a poem for today. I actually penned this poem. It's called Zephyr. I penned this poem just a few days ago on an afternoon where I had a bit of inspiration after chatting with a friend from Singapore. That's right, yeah. So this poem, so just to give you a bit of a pretext, this poem is a reflection of all that has happened in 2024. So that afternoon, after chatting with my very good friend, I sat down and I did a bit of reflection, and I realized that 2024 was the year that I had met the most new people in my life, I realized that I had been to so many different new events, places, functions, competitions, all of these different places where I've met some wonderful people, including my friends from Yale, which are now my very good, international buddies who I send postcards to. Shout out to you guys if you guys are listening. I've met some fantastic new friends in Sydney as well. And so I've realized that I really should be grateful for these relationships and these friendships and these people that I've met. So this poem is, I suppose, dedicated to them. It's my gratitude to them, and it's also my promise to them. So this poem, let's start. This poem is called Zephyr. The gales that dance the northern sky, who bound and prance against the longing blue, they saw us meet, our fated encounter, etched in the stars that hide in azure. The breeze saw our laughter, happiness and tears. It watched our story be scribbled in the book, until the stars in their pale hiding declared, "Away, away," and the book was shut, the pen cast aside. The wind blew us together and apart as it would. It blows through the pages, the ink of our story. It watches and dances, the zephyr that rides the clouds above. My friend, so long as you stand on this good earth, may the zephyr accompany you, the gale on your back. Strong when you ask, gentle as you wish. Carry your dreams and your soul take flight. And my decree to you all, as forever as it holds, this zephyr shall guide me, or yourself if it may. One day again I shall meet you again, some place, sometime, beneath another sky. By me. So that is actually this poem. I took a little bit of inspiration from a letter actually that I had written to all of my Yale buddies when I left, especially the last time, the last line of this poem, someplace, sometime, beneath another sky. Me personally, I think this phrase is uniquely elegant. I think it is a phrase that I have distilled after seeing and reading a lot of different poems in a lot of different places. The another sky idea actually comes from when I went to Japan. And I hopped on a flight, and in All Nippon Airlines, their company motto actually is will see you again beneath another sky. And I think personally that is a very, very beautiful way of saying, goodbye, but I'll see you once again. And obviously, some place, some time emphasizes that fact. And I mean, look, the whole another sky thing is, I suppose, a part of my identity now, right? I've always wanted to be a pilot. I've always had that flying dream. So the sky means a lot to me. The sky is this all-encompassing idea, or it's something that's not technically tangible. We see it every day. We feel it, above us, around us even, but it's something that's always there, but you never really truly get to touch it properly. And obviously that's where flight comes in. It's always said that flying is our way of touching the sky. We will never really experience flight like birds and mammals that can fly, truly with wings. But I suppose flying in an airplane is close enough, and I suppose that's where I derive my happiness from. But still, the sky has always been this. I suppose the sky is, in a very poetic sense, it's been with all of us, since we set foot on this earth. Some people come and go. Things happen. We leave places. We go to new places. But all of this, by the end, it will always disappear at some point. My father used to say that your life, your very own life, is like your journey in a vast, on a vast train journey. This train journey, it will have lines, countless lines crossing over yours. Platform to platform transfers. That's a phrase that I'm borrowing from my good friend Aurelian. But yeah, all of these different people, these sights and things that you will see, they're all on your train journey, and people will often, when you stop at a station, in your life, people will get on, people will get off. Some will get on for just a stop or two. These are your very short-lived encounters. Some people you just see outside the windows. Those are the passerbys that you meet on the street. Never to be seen again. Some might hop on for a stop or two. Maybe that's a few days, a few weeks. Will that leave a mark with you? That's up to your interaction with them. My time at Yale was fantastic for me. I will never ever forget the memories and the friends that I made, and I'm sure they won't either. I plan to go visit them all one day, sometime in university. Hopefully they'll all be in the US anyways. But afterwards, I suppose being a pilot aids with that, definitely. But yeah, so naturally, it's these experiences that allow me to, or I suppose allow us all, to develop these really key memories and these relationships, right? But nevertheless, that's only for a stop or two. I spent 2 weeks with them. Sometimes you might spend a day, a minute, a second even, but that somebody will linger in your mind, remain in your memory, and, stay with you forever. Then some people might stay with you for a few more stops. These are your friends that you find in your environment. These are the friends that you will find, in school, in work, in places that you frequent. These friends you have deeper connections with, but ultimately, some of these, and admittedly a lot of these, will be on for an extended period of time, but by some point they will jump off the train as well. They all have their own specific life journeys to follow. They have to change to their line. They have to make their train. You have to keep taking yours. And that's obviously when separation comes. And of course, there are some individuals that will stay with you for a very, very long time. Maybe even the whole train journey. Those are your immediate family, your partner, if you wish. These people, they they stay on with you for a good part of the journey, or hopefully up all the way until the end. But the journey, you have to remember that the journey is always undertaken by yourself. By the end, as morbid as it sounds, everybody has their own life journey. Everybody has their own train to take, And at the very final moments, you will find yourself by yourself. You'll find yourself in the carriage as the light of your life starts to dim. And you'll reflect on all of the people that you met, the journey that you took. And as sad as that sounds, that should be something that should be deeply motivating for us all. I tell this analogy to many people, and it often comes across misconstrued. People go, "Oh, what a terrible mindset to have, to think that you're all alone at the very end, right?" But no, I think not. I think that's a fantastic motivator. It reminds us that our time on this earth is truly rather short, and every single waking moment should be one that you will not regret in the very next moment. Live in the present. That is always, always, always my advice, and something that I've heard a lot and seen a lot, but people really don't seem to grasp. The idea of carpe diem, to seize the day. What does to seize the day mean? It means to live right here with yourself, Don't have your mind in the past. Because staying in the past will only allow you to descend further into your mistakes, regrets. There's no point regretting things. But don't look to the future too much too. You'll keep going, the future will be so much better. Things will always get better. But all you'll find yourself doing is that you're chasing more and more things. A bigger ideal. Sometimes, goals and dreams that will never truly materialize. But what you can do to chase those dreams is to live very, very, very much in the present. To live in the second, to live right here, right now. What are you doing? How am I existing? How am I thinking? These are all things that, we should consider. Obviously, not on a regular basis. That will just give you a lot of existentialist problems. But it's a good way to ground yourself when you find yourself mired in the past or, caught up in the future. Remember that we are here. You are living. Neil deGrasse Tyson actually once said, if we run the numbers, in all of history, for everybody, or all and everybody who has ever lived and walked on this planet Earth, there are billions, trillions of possibilities for births. But you are participating in this one in a maybe trillion opportunity here, There could have been so many other people that could have existed on this planet Earth, but you are here. You, out of all of them, are here. I think that is incredibly special in its own way, All of these people, they won't exist and they will never exist. They won't know that you are living this life. They will never experience joy, pain, sadness, laughter. They'll experience none of this, but you are. So, I think this life is, worth living such that you won't regret it the next day after, the next week after, the next month, the next year, up until all the way to the end. So I apologize for getting a little bit too deep there. Understandably, this is a little bit of a touchy subject, but I think these are some good things to say. I think people tend to forget these things. I think people tend to, really, they tend to consume themselves in these, all of their different pursuits and really kind of let life pass them by. But I think from a more gluttonous point of view, I mean, I'm very much a foodie. I don't know about you guys, but I really do think that every meal should be a good meal, because here's the thing, right? Let's do some maths here. A Chinese idiom says you only live for about 30,000 days. That's kind of true, considering the old life expectancies back then. But let's take 30,000 days. Let's say if you have 3 square meals a day, that's roughly around 90,000 meals. 90,000 meals. And dude, and you have a meal maybe every 3-4 hours, right? These meals are passing you by quick. So what's the point of wasting one on bad food, right? So that's just from a food perspective, right? But we're talking about life here. We're talking about the things you do, the people so get out there, be positive, don't be sulky, right? Smile at somebody. Pluck up the courage to go say hi to somebody. That's what I did. That was my resolution for the past year, to make some new friends, right? And I cannot even start to describe, the amount of luck I've had in finding some absolutely fantastic people, just because I decided to go, hey, how's it going? How's your day? It's as simple as that, and your story with a new person can begin immediately. I'm not even talking about friendships. Love works that way too. Take it from me, So, I mean, obviously, for the coming year, I wish you all the best of luck, I hope you guys find some amazing new people to meet up with, to forge these friendships with, I hope these people bring you joy, and I hope you learn a lot from these people as well. Now, but returning from this very long tangent, I suppose, turning back to the idea of the sky, right? The sky for me is, like I said, it's a constant. It's something that will never really change across generations, timelines. The sky is this idea, that will never really change in any way. And it's that kind of that constantness. It's that, untouchability, right? You will know that the sky will always one day be blue. And that is, eternally reassuring for me, right? Especially for a guy who likes planes. That is a very, very reassuring idea. So, like I said in my poem, right? Who bound, the winds who bound and prance against the longing blue. I think I convey well enough, my appreciation for the sky. I often say to people, I go, if the earth one day came crashing down to its knees and everything I've ever loved and admired suddenly ceased to exist or was destroyed in the blink of an eye, if the sky was still blue that day, I would be happy. And I stand by that, The sky for me is it delivers this immeasurable amount of joy, especially on a blustery winter's day, when it's cold out in the morning, but the sun is, shining down, and, you feel all of a sudden warm against its glow. Those are the days when not a cloud will be in sight, because none have condensed enough to form, no water vapor is condensed enough to form clouds, right? And there's just this deep, rich, eternal blue that stretches forever and ever if you look up. That is the most fantastic and the most... I think it's the single thing in this world that brings me the most joy. Seriously, really. I think it's just so very, very special, that sight. And naturally, I mean, the wind is, uniquely important for me too. As an aviator, of course. But I suppose the wind is, very unique in itself. These jet streams that carry, great, at that form the basis of our weather systems, right? It keeps the world running, and who doesn't like an odd breeze and things in spring? So that's why I decided to name this poem Zephyr. Anyways, the wind, it brings us together, breaks us apart. I think I've gotten a bit too poetic there. I've just realized that, but yeah, no, but I suppose definitely towards the end here. The idea of meetings, departures, this unpredictability of life. Who knows what's going to happen the next day? Who knows what's going to happen in the next minute? Maybe I'll stop this podcast. Maybe I won't. But I assure you, the Floodline podcast is usually 30 minutes long, so we've still got 10 minutes. Trust me. Like this idea of these people and these stories, you never really know what's going to come next until you live there, right? The idea of if I hadn't taken the leap, if I hadn't lived up to the ripe old age of 16, I would have never been able to meet these people. Where will I go in the future? I don't know. A whole mix of things. Where will I go? How's the weather on that day? Is the person that I'm fated to meet, in the same location as me, right? All of these different things combined together to write these beautifully intricate stories that you will never ever forget. I think that's very, very special. A line comes from a movie somewhere that I can no longer remember. And then one of the character asks one of the others, I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow, and the other character goes, well, that's the beauty of it, That's why we continue living. We don't know what's gonna happen, and that makes it incredibly exciting. Me personally, I'm very excited for the year ahead. This is obviously the last year of my schooling. This is going to be the last year, of my secondary education. I graduate at the end of the year, after completing my HSC. So it's going to be a very stressful year for me, but I think I'll take that challenge as a welcome challenge. I think this year is probably going to be the culmination of all of my efforts these years, and I'm going to do my very bestest in my academics, my extracurriculars, and everything in between. Naturally, after last year, I'm very much hopeful that this year I'll be able to meet so many more fantastic new people, So many more people will hop on my train at one station. And I think, I'm very, very much hopeful that will happen. But I also bid you all to take that first step yourself as well. Don't rely on other people to come up. That they'll never get you much anywhere. Even if these people hop on your train, you have to make the effort to talk to them, right? So, say if there's somebody who frequents your bus stop, sit down, have a chat with them, find out what school they're from, if they're the same age as you, find out what they do. There's everybody has their own story, and I think that's really, really important, and that's something that we need to note, is that everybody on this earth has their own unique story, and these stories are often incredible, right? They remind you of how different we all are and how different our lives are. I in front of an airplane lavatory when I was heading back from China, I had a gentleman who was a doctor, and he was from Bangladesh, and he had transferred over here roughly around 5 years ago, and he's making a living in his clinic. I chatted to this Chinese international student who had just graduated from UNSW and was finding work over here. I also found a very kind gentleman who owned a CNC milling business out in Griffith. These people are all so different, of so different cultural backgrounds, they've lived such different lives, and yet you're here talking to them. It is I think it is very, very much. It should be cherished. All of our differences, and I think you'll find it very interesting if you take up the courage, and you have some conversations with people, because truly you learn a lot about yourself and the world as well. Um, so yeah, that's my advice for today. Sorry, I'm a bit of a sentimental old sop, as you can see. And I might be sounding a bit more calm, collected. I think that might be because of the location change. I'm in a very much comfortable more seat than I was for episode 1 and episode 2. And I think I will move back there in the future, but right now I think this is doing okay. It is roughly around 11 p.m. So I wanted to find a nice spot, and I've just so happened to move into my what I call the movie room, but it's essentially a room with a large television that I used to you know work and play and whatnot. So these sofas are very much comfortable. They're very big and they're very soft. So they provide a lot of sound insulation as well, which is very good. In my room, it's all kind of like plasterboard and everything kind of echoes a bit. So hopefully, I've sounded much more like David Attenborough tonight rather than good old Hyper Dylan. But I think it's a late night atmosphere that it's also contributed to tonight's mood. Now, I definitely next week I'll see what I can do. But I think next week we can continue looking at some poems. I do have some poems that I'd like to share, and I think they are very wonderful. A few poems in mind that have really kind of brought up my appreciation of poetry. I used to think that poetry was terrible. I used to think that poetry was vague, ambiguous, and then you sit there in English class and you go, what is this person trying to say? I think my poetry is a little bit more literate. I think I'm a bit more flowery with my words. I'm not quite a postmodern poet. A postmodern poet, as some year 12s will know. But yeah, no, my love of poetry has brought me far, I suppose, in appreciation for many different things. Our humanity, life, the world, and when you read a lot of poetry, you will start to get a real grasp on the beauty of our existence, and I think that's something that's incredibly, incredibly beautiful. Naturally, if I do compose any more poems, I mean, this is the holidays. I do have much more thinking space for these, and I do like writing some poems sometimes, especially these dedicated to people. So if I end up penning some more, I'll make sure to share them. But meanwhile, yeah, I mean, I've just come back from my China vacation as well. That was fun. I probably should write a poem about my time up in Harbin. Fun fact: this time going to China, I didn't go back to my hometown or anything. I took care of that roughly around 2 years ago when I went back. Some of you will know I went around a bit. I went to Gansu, and I went to the desert regions, and that was very, very cool. That was the first time I'd seen a proper desert. And so 2 years later, my mother was like, "Okay, well, you've seen a desert. Why don't we take you to go see a nice big white winter wonderland?" I'm like, "Oh, I to be completely honest, I've never seen snow falling before. I've seen snow on the ground, but I've never seen snow falling." And my mother was like, "Oh, okay, all right. We might as well, bring you back for it." So me, my mom, and my little sister went off to. Um, so yeah, we flew into Shenzhen, and then we spent a few days there. And then had a bit of a day trip in Hong Kong. Shout out to my friend Kelly. And then we flew up to Harbin, which is where all the snow and ice is. So essentially, they do a massive snow and ice festival there. It's called the Snow and Ice Winter Wonderland. And essentially, they cut out all of these massive ice blocks and they make them into these really beautiful structures and these sculptures of all of these different architectural wonders of the world, and it's fantastic. It's very, very cold. I probably froze my ass off there, but really, really amazing place. And then the astute ones in my Instagram following will probably see that I made my way to Wuhan, had a few days there up in Mount Wudang and stuff, and then came down to Zhuhai to Macau to have a bit of a jaunt as well. I spent a lot of time in Guangdong this time around, which is a very fantastic place. I love the Guangdong province. It's so bustling. I even said to my mum, in the future, if I do get if I do get a contract, a Chinese domestic contract, and I'm based in Shenzhen, that would be the dream for 2 years or something. But sorry, I'm getting a bit too technical now. No, I love the place, and obviously I haven't been to China in ages, so it's always good to go back. I think I'm planning on going back later, um, after HSC as well, roughly, roughly around I would suppose 1.5 months or 2 months after HSC. I think that's about when everybody kind of takes off and goes on their trips. I definitely want to do a massive Asia tour with partially with friends and partially with family as well. I want to go back and see all of my kin and things, but I definitely want to have the obligatory Japan trip and probably Korea trip with some lads. So that would be fun. But yeah, no, that was my vacation. It was very nice. Oh, and I also, I mean, I went up to Brisbane lately for a competition, and I did think that my last ever vacation was going to be up to Brisbane before HSC. Well, it turns out I am heading to the US in July now. Anyways, back again. Yeah, I know. But this time in different places, to Florida actually, Cape Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center, and then off to Houston, Texas, which will be fun. Definitely want to eat as much brisket as possible when I get there, which will be amazing. Right. But yeah, but that story will definitely come later. That will definitely come up later in the year, and I will, as soon as I'm back, deliver you all an update on how that has been. But yeah, so I think that will be it for today. I think I've gone off my original tangent from poetry a bit much. So yeah, that was Zephyr. I think, I don't know. Should I type this up, guys? I don't know. I think it's nicer if I immortalize it with my voice. But that is my poem for this week, and thank you very much for listening in this time round. I do really apologize for the long break I have had from you all. I understand it's only been about 2 episodes, and some of you have been asking where I've gone, but this is episode 3, so hopefully that satiates you for another week. I'll definitely try and start posting again weekly. I think that will be good for both myself and all my thoughts, so that each episode doesn't become a 2-hour yap session. Um, but yeah, I think that will conclude it for this week. Thank you very, very, very much, guys. Thank you for all the support. And yeah, this will be the end of episode 3. See you guys later.